nobody has come to me saying they wanted to speak. I did go to anybody that had said they wanted to speak previously and say to them that they were.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the council meeting for Kingsthorpe Parish Council, taking place on the 22nd of April 2021. We were due to have this meeting last week, but due to the passing of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, we decided to move the meeting to this day, which is the earliest that it would be. The purpose of this meeting is, even though we're in Purdah, which means we won't be able to make any political statements or anything of that kind, we still do have a statutory requirement to look over matters of planning. So that will be the main focus of this meeting, although there are some other items we'll be going over as well. So to start off with, the first item is apologies for absence.
None received, Chair.
None received, okay. And we are quorate because we have councillors Beardworth, Perrick and myself as sitting councillors, and we've also got co-opted members, Mr. Brady and Mr. Miller. And I have a cat under my desk, so shortly. Are there any declarations of interest?
None, Chair.
No, Chair.
I do have one relating to item 7, which is planning matters. I'm currently a member of the planning committee at the Unitary Authority, and we do have a planning meeting next week, although none of the items that we'll be considering will be included on that because we've also already had the agenda published. So I will be speaking on item 7. So then we move on to item 3. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look over the minutes. Is everybody happy with them as presented?
Fine.
Okay, that's unanimous. I will sign them as approved. Item number 4 is a public session. So members of the public can address the council, and they have 3 minutes each, and that item can last for up to 15 minutes. I don't believe there are any public speakers.
No one's registered, but we just have Rachel Ball with us this evening, who's not currently a member of the council. So I don't know if Rachel wanted to speak on anything. We haven't. No. Okay.
No, okay. Thank you. So the next item is item number 5, which is the library provision in Kingsthorpe. So there's not much to update on. We were due to have a working group meeting at the weekend, just gone. Unfortunately, we hadn't received any response from the Unitary Authority regarding the Freedom of Information request. We have now received it, and it has been sent to all the members. We won't really be able to discuss it because we are in Purdah and we haven't had a chance to discuss it as a working group. But I will be asking for the response to be sent to all the members of the working group so we can discuss it on Saturday when we're having the meeting, and then we will report back on anything that happens at the full council meeting, just as an item of information. But I've also asked for the response to be put onto the parish council website because it can be viewed by any member of the public. It's a matter of public record. So Kate, we discussed this earlier. There was one item that you weren't very happy with that you've gone back to. If you'd just like to, if you'd like to just update us on that, please.
Yeah, there were 2 pieces of information that we'd asked for essentially. One was the cost involved with the purchase or transfer of the current library building, and they have come back to me with that, and I've just sent that to members of the council earlier and just sent it to members of the working party, and we also asked for the costs involved when the previous library building was sold, what's now the NAB building. And the answer I got back from the Freedom of Information request was that that information was publicly available on the Land Registry site. When you go onto the Land Registry site, there's only information post 1995. So I have gone back to WNC and asked them to complete that. And I've just had acknowledgement of that request today. It won't take another 21 days because it's the same request, and I'm saying that it's not been answered fully. So they have gone back to try and get that information for us.
Good, well done.
Then would you like to speak on this?
I think we just wait for the, weekend when we're
Okay.
online because of further particularly.
Okay, I agree. So we'll speak about this at the working group on Saturday. So the next item is the police information. We were supposed to have a police officer come to the meeting last week because we had to reschedule. The person who was going to be doing that is ill and they can get a replacement to attend this meeting at such short notice. So I've asked Kate to see if we can get a written statement from the police, which we'll present on the Parish Council website as soon as we receive it, and perhaps invite them to a meeting at some later point. But we also have on this item as well, Mr. Miller, Steve, you went to the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner briefing. And so if there's anything you'd just like to update us on that was presented at that meeting on the 23rd of March.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, so we had a presentation from the Police and Fire Crime Commissioner, Stephen Mould, from, I guess, Chief Constable Nick Adderley, and I've also got CFO Darren Dovey, who I think is Chief Fire Officer. Nick Adderley said that over the next 12 months, the police force are going to be prioritising quality of life issues, which he said was antisocial behaviour and serious crime. That the neighbourhood policing base will remain in Weston Favell, although not in the same premises. They didn't tell us where the new premises was, but apparently the old premises was in need of updating, so they're moving into a new premises. They are going to allocate neighbourhood officers to particular areas. So it says it will be based around specific areas, not lines on a map. These are the notes I made. So, for instance, it's not just going to be, if you were looking at Kingsthorpe, for instance, it would be Kingsthorpe. It wouldn't be, we've cut Kingsthorpe off in the middle of, Harbour Road or something like that. So the impression they gave was that there will be named police officers that residents can see are responsible police officers for specific areas. They've recruited 16 specific officers that will go straight into that neighbourhood role. We'll start to see those names being released in the next 4 to 6 weeks, by mid-May, I guess. And those neighbourhood officers will work with communities and understand the challenges of those areas. And then there'll be new response officers as well who respond to reports of crime. They will be deployed from the 4 hubs around the county, and they're going to be deployed from the hubs that are most local to them. So I think historically, they don't necessarily get pulled in based on, if you're in the closest hub, you go and respond to the crime. I think it's just, here you go, off you go and respond to the crime. So they're going to sort of make that more local as well, I think. They talked about there's going to be an increase in 200 officers. Is it going to be beat officers or will it be PCSOs? And the answer was there will be 200 police officers. So it won't be backroom staff, it'll be police officers, but they won't necessarily all be beat officers. So I kind of got the impression that meant they're going to put some people into the communities and then some people might be, I don't know, specialist officers for other responsibilities. There was 50 people on the call, so any questions that came in were a bit. We'd been asked not to be specific. Don't ask a question about Kingsthorpe. Don't ask a question about an area because it needed to be general. So the only questions we've got are around things like dog theft and, like I said, antisocial behaviour and serious crime. But there's also there's the liaison committee meeting, which is happening this evening. I've got an invite to that, and I would assume that we might get to hear more about the neighbourhood officers probably from that meeting. So I will feed back after that. I've got I did take a couple of pages of notes as well. So I can share those notes with Kate if it's useful for them to be distributed.
Yeah, I think that might be quite useful. I can see Sally's got her hand up, so Sally, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to ask Steve, I'm getting a lot of people who say that they can't be bothered to report certain crimes, petty crime, because of getting through to the police headquarters. The length of time they're on the phone is ridiculous to try and get through. There's a 20 minutes on the call, and they give up. And I keep telling them it's very important that they report it, because then the police have got an idea what level of crime is in the area and then can act accordingly. So I'm hoping with this new idea that they might be having a more direct line for people in Kingsthorpe area to ring to the officers that are on duty, because I think that used to be able to happen, and that was much more useful because people knew the area, you knew what you were talking about, and could send somebody out. So that was one of our biggest concerns, is the length of time phone calls take to get through to the police, not 999 obviously, but the other number, and also the fact that we need to have a base where we can call a police officer to talk about a specific problem in the area.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Sally. I don't know about the latter one. So again, I guess as this community scheme gets rolled out, then maybe we'll get more detail about it. And hopefully, if we do get a community officer allocated to Kingsthorpe, then hopefully we can get them at one of these meetings pretty soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were at the meeting at the pastures that we had probably a year or so ago, where the police, that conversation about people waiting on phone calls did come up, and they told us that you should be raising them online. It's the quickest way to raise it, which is great for people who are online, isn't it? But it's not very good for people who want to actually speak to someone.
Yes.
So yeah,
or get advice.
Yeah, completely agree. So we'll make sure that from, I guess, the parish council, we'll feed that forward.
Thank you.
Sorry, Kate, you had your hand up as well, didn't you?
You covered everything I would have said, Steve, so you've answered the point I was going to make.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? No. Well, thank you very much, Steve. I look forward to hearing what happens this evening, and hopefully we can get a good community policing group sorted and make all the information available to everybody. So that will be item number 6. So now we go on to the main reason for this meeting, which is planning matters. And there's quite a few applications to be considered. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Appleyard, did you want to make a public statement at the start of the meeting? Sorry, you're on mute.
I can't hear you. No, you're on mute again.
Okay. If you do have something you want to ask myself or any member of the council, just send an email and we can provide a written or oral response, and we can send that to you very shortly, and we could also publish it on the website. I'm very sorry, but if we can't hear you, then obviously there's not much we can do on that. So in that case, then, if you do get your sound back before the end of the meeting, Mr. Appleyard, I will allow you to make a statement. But so we go on to item 7, which, as I said, this is the reason for this meeting, because we have a statutory requirement to cover these, even though we're in PERDA. I did have a meeting with Kate earlier today, and once the new council has been officially formed in May, I think it's a very good idea, given the number of applications we have, that we should have a planning subcommittee, and we'll be covering some of the details of that at the end of the meeting. But before that, we'll just jump straight into the applications. I've reviewed all of them myself. I hope everyone else has. So Kate, since you'll be presenting these, go straight ahead.
Yeah, hopefully everyone can see the screen. The first application is for 202 Obelisk Rise. This is right at the end of the consultation period for this application. I had asked for an extension when we had our previous meeting, so we haven't got a formal extension, but they have said that any comments that we make this evening will be taken into account. I will just put a drawing up on screen. I would say there are no comments from residents or any consultees on this application, so no one locally has flagged anything up in particular. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. Is that all right for everybody? So you can just see the side view, because it's a single story side extension. So that's that there. It might be clearer on the other location plan. So you can see the plot there on the corner, and the red shading, which hopefully you can see, is where the extension is planned for. So it's a question of, does anyone have, I mean, I can put any other drawings up if you want me to, but does anyone have any comments on that one?
I think it's.
Can I come in? I just wanted to say that it doesn't look impact on anybody surrounding the application. It looks like the end of the road. So, and I haven't had any, well, I wouldn't because it's not my area, but I don't, I can't see that there would be a problem with that because there's nobody adjacent to or behind.
No, it is a single story extension. So it's not overdevelopment, and it doesn't seem to be like it's a massive one either. So I don't think we'd have any grounds to say anything. I think the only comment would just be to ensure that it's in keeping with the local aesthetic. So like they use appropriate materials in the walls and roofing.
Chair, can I just mention, if we're going to have a planning subcommittee, then anybody is on that will need a bit of training.
Yeah, if we'll wait until the end of the meeting, Councillor Bidge, because
okay.
we'll be going over that. There's some items in the agenda that pack that Kate sent, which covers like training for new councillors. We'll come to that at the end.
Good.
I'm quite happy with the application.
And me.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So then we'll move on to the second one, which is 10 Glasedale Close.
10 Glasedale Close. And then, so this one is first floor extension to existing detached garage for home office. This is the proposed garage, and that they're planning to put another floor in for their home office. I assume you've all seen that. And then if I just show you the plans and block plan, you can see the garage here. So they're right at the end of the close. There's a lot of trees in the area and around. So that's the area there. It's not really overlooked particularly by anybody. And again, this one's right at the end of the consultation period, and there's been no comments from neighbouring residents at all raising any concerns. So, and they'll all have received site notices. So again, it's over to members for their comments.
Well, it's in my ward. I haven't had anybody contact me, and where it's situated, it doesn't look like it'll affect anybody. I have no problem with it. Jaya?
Yeah, I think I'd be in favour of it because it's not overlooking anyone, and it's not going to have an impact on anybody else's use of their own properties as well.
So the only comment I would make is if there's a window from the office that points towards number 9, that perhaps we should ask whether that could be glazed. I know those kind of windows, they don't often have any problems because they're in the ceiling. But if you ask for it to be, not glazed, frosted, so that there'll be no danger of like overlooking and loss of privacy in the garden.
We can certainly make that comment. If I just go back to the other drawing, just wondering.
It's going to be quite high up. Yeah.
Front elevation, side elevation. It doesn't look to me as if there could, is that a window in the side that would be facing? But I will certainly make that comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The window will be looking up anyway, so I don't think it'll have any effect on neighbouring properties, but by the looks of it.
No, I don't think so either. But sometimes neighbours can be quite picky about windows overlooking their property, and it is like another level onto an existing structure. So I think that if we can ensure that that complaint, if it does arise, has already been addressed, that'd be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is 17 Barron's Way, and on this one, a resident has made a comment regarding light and the plans. And the effect that the extension could have on their property. I don't know which side this neighbour was on because it doesn't tell you that on the.
Is it the yellow area of the extension?
Yeah, exactly.
It's rather huge, isn't it?
The wraparound.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
definitely
to me like a very large extension.
I will
I don't
come
know
back.
if it's.
I will come back to it, but if I just go, they've changed the floor plan and so on. But I think the oh, it's not on here. Actually, I might have taken a drawing off, and when I looked, because there was a good kind of block plan that showed the extent of the extension, but it is fairly significant. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll go back to that one.
Yes, it looks to me like overdevelopment. I mean, there's lots of bungalows and down Barron's Way as well, so it does look like a huge extension.
Is it not in comparison with the next door anyway?
Mm.
Because it's more or less in line with the next door neighbours there.
Yeah, if there was a gap between the two properties, then I don't think there would be an issue, but they are,
I think
literally desperately adjacent to each other.
number
So-
19, number 19, is it number 17 that we're looking at?
Number 17 we're looking at,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Number 19 is a bungalow, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
So it looks big on the plan because it's, you know, quite a big footprint, but actually it's only one story. So
Okay.
I definitely think that this is overdevelopment. If it was a one-story extension, then I think that would be acceptable. But as a two-story one, I think that's going too far. There'll be a loss of amenity for the neighbouring property.
can I share my screen, Kate? And I'll quickly show you
can,
what it looks like on the street view.
Yeah, but you know, I was just going to try and I just need to switch it so that everyone can share.
Okay.
But you should be able to share now, Steve.
Okay. Doink. Can you see? Not yet. No, bear with me.
No.
There you go. Can you see?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
So
Yeah.
this is number 17. So that's
Yeah.
the one where they're going to extend, and this is the one next door.
yeah. It's going to dwarf it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's
But
going to
then
be.
the one on the other side is
Yeah.
rather large as well, isn't it?
It is.
So is it going to have an effect on the property, on the bungalow?
It may do, but it will certainly have an effect on the bungalow, which is, I think, the one we'd be concerned because the extension's on that side of the property.
Yes, I would be concerned because it's so big. You know, it's massive. When I know it's wrapped round, but it's still
Yeah, but
huge.
I think the fact that the other house is as large on that side as well.
Mm,
Yeah, but they've not had the extension done.
No, they're not an extension, and that's set, and that is set back, whereas this one is, yeah.
Is this one set back as well though?
No, this is on the same building line, isn't it? But this one behind, the cream coloured one behind, is set back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right,
It's not so intrusive, is it?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely think overdevelopment.
Yes.
I think if it was simply just one story, that would be acceptable. But 2 stories, it will have a negative impact on the neighbouring property, which would be loss of amenity.
Yeah.
Overdevelopment and loss of amenity.
Yeah.
I think we just encourage the property owner to discuss it with his neighbour. I mean,
yeah, I think so.
And the planning team will help him as well, you know, to modify it a bit.
Okay. I will submit that. And then the next one is 21A Welford Road, which is change of use from it doesn't show you very much on there at all, but it's change of use from a hairdresser's to a yoga studio, and it's just as you come around the corner from the Welford Road. In fact, I think there's 2 or 3 hairdressers in a row along that stretch, and it's the one at the end there.
Yeah, there's a barber shop and a hairdresser's.
Yeah.
And a restaurant.
No comments from neighbours. Environmental health just made a comment regarding the fact that there was no air conditioning included in the scheme.
No.
And they just thought that if people were doing, you know, if it was going to be used as an exercise studio, that could have an impact because you're more likely to, you know, have windows open and noise could affect the neighbours. So that was a comment that's been made from environmental health. And the conservation officer didn't have any comments to make on this one either. So
the only thing is you've got 10 people turning up, you've got parking, but I suppose they could go to other places to park.
Yeah, it's not so very far to park at Waitrose or something, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, but the conservation officer didn't think it had any impact really.
No.
So
No.
no, I would agree with the environmental health regarding the air conditioning, because it is right by a major road. So if you're having to open the windows, that could introduce poor air into the property. I think certainly air conditioning, that'd be very beneficial. So I agree with them, but I've got no objections to this.
I don't think car parking would make a difference as well, because even when it was a hairdresser's, you can have quite a few turning up for that same time as well. So the fact that it's going to be a studio, I don't think it'll change it over.
okay. So just no objections, but just a comment regarding air conditioning would be a positive addition.
Yes. Well, we know in Kingsthorpe Community Centre gets extremely hot there, and that hasn't got air conditioning.
If you'll excuse me for a minute, my cat has decided to jump in the toilet. I'll be back very shortly.
Oh, okay.
Epic.
That's different to the council. Yeah.
I was like, make sure that's minute cake.
Yeah.
I will do, absolutely. We will record that piece of information for posterity.
That's the beauty of having Zoom meetings, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. You've got no control over your bets and delivery drivers. It just you're guaranteed whatever time your delivery is, it's going to come when you're in a meeting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Just while we wait, but to come back. Obviously, you need him to be here to comment and everything.
Yes,
but
I'm very sorry about that.
We don't want her to drown.
So I'll carry on. The next one is number 9, Delta Way. This is the location plan, and this is the proposed extension area, and you can see where that is on that plan as well. And then I'll just give you the floor plans and so on. Bear with me one. There you go. You all see that. I'm not sure how.
It's not going
well,
out that far, is it? I mean, what's the distance between it? The new addition doesn't look very much.
No, it's a first floor extension, so I think they're going over the garage and the utility room, aren't they?
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't look that much bigger than what would be permitted development.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, yeah.
And it is to the rear of the property, literally to the rear. So I don't think this would be an issue at all.
No.
No, it looks fine to me.
No. It's not very dense up there anyway, in Delta Way. They're not on top of one another.
And the windows are rear facing rather than side facing. So there'd be no problem with the overlooking.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. The next one is Newnham Road, and it's just a variation of condition on what was the pub being turned into flats, and it is just around the cycle store, and alter the parking layout and amended boundary treatments.
This isn't the old St David's pub, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, St David's pub.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So there's just some alterations to the parking layout and amended boundary treatments. I've just got to reposition and resize the bin and cycle stores, alter the parking layout and amend the boundary treatments. Environmental health didn't have any comments to make on the application. They were happy with it. And the police had just made a comment about the security of the bike store, ensuring that it was secure and met their standards.
Yes, yeah.
And again, it was just a comment and something for them to be aware of rather than an objection to it.
Yeah. I think the police will be quite happy to have this converted into flats. They had a lot of problems with them over the years with this particular public house.
Yeah, and this is an amendment to permission. So they've already got permission to go ahead with the existing application. They're wanting to amend it. And I've looked over this and I have no objections to it.
No, Chair, no.
Already turned into flats anyway, I believe that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's more or less done already.
Yeah, it is. I walked through the other day, but it's just to it's just a variation, so it's not very significant.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you happy for me to move on to the next one?
Yeah,
which is 20 Isham Close, and it's a single story rear extension and flat to pitch roof conversion. There we go. Again, no objections from residents, other residents at the moment. Bear with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Quite a big extension, but it's a detached house, isn't it? And they're all fairly spread out at Isham Close.
Yeah. It's single story anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the other drawing doesn't very helpfully doesn't say which one's which. think that was the same drawing,
That's
isn't it?
the same one, yeah.
I don't think there's any issue with that at all. Again,
Yeah.
the doors and windows are all rear facing, so they're facing into the garden. There'll be no issues with over.
No.
It's not a 2-story extension, so I think that's quite acceptable. It would be different, I think, if it was a 2-story extension.
Mm.
Okay. And then the next one is 304 Obelisk Drive, conversion of garage and erection of single-story side extension, and increase hard standing at front of property. Can you see the red block?
Mm.
Oh, yeah, side.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just single story, that one.
It looks like
Single-story side
Yeah.
extension.
Mm.
Yeah,
The conversion, they're converting the garage, which
Mm.
is probably this area here,
So the-
extending that, bringing forward, and then creating hard standing at the front.
Okay.
All I'd say about the hard standing at the front, make sure that that water can pass through it. I forget the
It's
name for it.
permeable. Yeah,
Permeable, that's the word I was looking for.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that I think the extension is perfectly acceptable. The lighting is coming in from above. There's no overlooking, and it does seem thing. And again, hard standing. That doesn't. They will need a drop curb as well, won't they? Unless they've already got one.
Mm.
Yeah, I've taken that.
Yeah.
Do
Is
a
that
hard
one of?
stand.
Yeah.
already got a garage, so
Yeah. So
It could have.
the only issue they might have is if there's a local covenant, because I know there's one on. That's a civil
A
matter,
lot.
not a planning
Yeah.
matter.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is everybody happy with that
Yeah.
one?
Yes.
That's fine.
And then this drawing is the next one is Wander Green, Kingsthorpe.
Oof.
On the green.
Yeah, I've had a few problems with this one in the past.
Right, this is this drawing. Of all the plans, I thought this one actually showed it the best. What was happening? So this is the existing building, and this is within the conservation area. Obviously, this is the existing building. There was an application that I think had a lot of objections, and it says refused here, but it was actually withdrawn, I think.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. And they had planned this, and this application went in, and I assume it was withdrawn because there were so many objections and it was expected to be refused. And then this is the revised layout. So they've filled in kind of that middle section here.
Can I just say,
take that out?
The next door neighbour. Right. If you go back down the screen, if you go back to the next, when you go down, there you go. This is their garden. Okay, it's very small, and anything they put in there will completely block view and light and everything. This was the problem before, because they're going in for something so large. I mean, this is a cottage, and what they were doing before was even bigger, but even this will rob. They won't have any view across this way at all, and it will block light. So I do have a problem with it, for the next door neighbour's sake.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It does look like a very large. It'd be overdevelopment, So I say we object to this on the basis that it's overdevelopment and it will rob the neighbouring property of amenity.
And it's not in keeping as well. You know, you're talking ultra extension at the back there, which is, when you think it's the village, it's a shame.
Yeah.
I would just say, sorry, apologies. I've spoken to the conservation officer, and he hasn't reviewed this application in detail as yet, so hasn't submitted any comments. He did say at first look, he thinks it's an improvement on the previous application.
It is, but it still is large.
Yeah.
And the people next door have so little outside space, it seems a shame to rob them of anything other than to look out on a brick wall.
I mean, if it was a one-story, I think that would be a lot more acceptable. Having
But
it as
they've got a pitched roof, yeah. I'm sympathetic. I know that they want a bigger place.
Yeah.
But sometimes you know, it's not always right and proper to have it, you know.
Yeah.
You've got to think of your neighbours.
So the proposed is the back part there, because I'm looking.
Yeah.
See it properly on there.
The proposed is at the bottom there, and they're filling that right across the back and going up with a pitched roof. Yeah,
it's definitely an improvement over the previous one. However, it's still, I'd say that would be overdevelopment.
Yeah,
definitely. So
this looks more confusing to me than the other plans. The other plans are a bit more understandable.
This looks like a drawing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
All of these are very all the
Yeah.
documents are very hand drawn for this
Yeah.
particular application. So there's not a nice block plan or anything that just sort of shows it in any other way. So
The normal plans are easier to understand on there.
Have we had any? Have there been any objections to this?
Not yet, but it could. I don't. Let me just see. I hadn't when I looked the other day. No, I mean the site notice only went out on the 12th of April, and the consultation period won't have closed yet. So
Okay.
3D view there as well if people want to.
Yeah. It just is. It's just so big, and you think of that. This is the existing cottage, and this all will be new.
Okay, so I will object to that one. Are you happy to move on, Chair?
yeah, I think we've all made our feelings clear on this one.
Okay, so the next one is 6 Coleraine Close. And what they're doing is where the bedroom is at the moment, this is the proposal, it's a garage, and so they're taking down demolition of existing garage and construction of new single-storey side extension within the existing garage footprint.
Yeah. They're fairly small bungalows along there, and obviously they've knocked the lounge into one. Yeah, so they want a second bedroom, which I understand. That seems quite sensible.
Yeah, it does seem sensible. Sometimes with garage conversions like this, I think we could ask a comment that we asked that in no time in the future, could that be a separate unit, so it wouldn't be able to be rented out as a like a flat, because that'd be too small, I think.
Oh yeah.
We won't have a separate entrance anyway, would it, Chair?
No, it's only from there.
You'd be able to apply for planning permission at a later point to turn it into a separate unit.
Oh,
because the size of it would just about meet the requirements of how big units can be or how small they can be, especially if they put a toilet and a kitchen in there or kitchenette.
I think the new livable space is about 38 meters square.
Mm.
I don't think that would suffice on there by the looks of it.
No, I think they've just
7 square meters.
You could never get that passed as a single unit because
No.
it's too small. I think primarily what they've done is just made the lounge and bedroom into one room. They've got it upstairs though, haven't they? They've got stairs there as well, haven't they?
Yeah, it's going up to the.
There's a dormer.
A dormer, yeah. But even so, it still needs, if you're elderly and you're living downstairs, it's always nice to have a second bedroom. So if you've got a carer coming to stay to look after you, you've got a second bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aside from that comment, I have no objections.
No,
I
no,
have no objections.
Okay. And then, have I lost the last one? Bear with me a moment. Which is 38 Hastings Road, a single story and 2-story rear extension. Only tabs open. I've lost it in translation at some point.
Okay, 38 Road.
This is proposed.
That's a big extension, that is.
This doing, let's have a. So you can see the.
Yeah,
But if you look, number 40
it's done the same, yeah.
it's done the same. Not to say that just because there's a precedent that that's the right thing, but there is obviously, somebody else has done the same.
And
But
if there's already a precedent there, can we?
Yeah.
We can't really refuse it anyway, can we?
Well, it's difficult to say you can't do it if your next door neighbour's done it, as long as they've gone through the right procedure. That's the thing. And obviously that neighbour's not going to complain. It's only the one on the other side, so, and I think that's the adjoining one, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah,
Anyway.
it does look like it is quite large, but I don't think, given the size of the property's garden, and given the fact that
they've got big gardens.
have windows on the side, then I don't think it would be any undue loss of amenity, especially given that the loss of amenity would be to the property that's already got the extension, and it wouldn't have that much of an impact.
It looks like several of them have done it as well anyway. Several have extended down there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the way the sun goes, it's not going to block out the sunlight to the east. So I'm quite happy with that.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
It's, looking at the maps, it's not clear if the extension at 40 is a single story or a double story.
No.
So it's a big extension, but it's got a flat roof. So it's not quite clear, if it's the same scale. So this is obviously a 2-story extension. And I think also there's a gap, a slight gap between 38 and 40, whereas 36 would be more directly impacted by this extension, I think.
That's true, yeah.
Well, I personally don't have any objections to this. Obviously, it'd be up to the neighbours to come in and
speak about it, yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any loss of amenity, and I don't think it's overbearing at all, given that the whole thing is to the rear of the property and the garden's very large.
Yeah.
Nobody has objected to it as yet. So obviously still within the consultation period, but there's no objections at the moment.
Yes. No, I think that's fine. And it's going to planning anyway, isn't it? So it'll have another bite of the cherry.
Yeah.
So is everyone happy then? There's no members happy there's no objection to that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
And then there's other planning matters, which is the 2 masts. And you did see on the amended agenda, which had changed obviously from when we would have had this meeting last week, that the one on Harbour Road has now become a planning application, but the details and drawings are the same as those that were emailed round to you. So I can.
I'll just give notice, Chair, that I need to leave at 7 o'clock for police meeting. So
Okay.
10 minutes left.
Location plan.
Near Thornton Park, isn't it, this one?
These are large. They're very tall.
Are they for the mobile phone usage?
Yeah,
Yes,
they're proposed 5G installations.
Yeah.
So the issue with 5G is that you can update existing facilities, but they'll need to be heightened. And 5G has a limited range, and it's also stopped by walls. So you have to have more 5G masts, and they have to be taller to give adequate coverage. And there's been a few in the town centre. But from the paperwork I've seen, that the telecommunications companies, they work very hard to place them at suitable locations where they're not going to be too obtrusive. But as I said, they are large. One of these is 18 meters and the other is 20 meters tall.
Wow, that is large.
I've got opinions on the second one. I don't particularly have an opinion on the first one.
I suppose really the only thing is if you were having helicopters come and get an accident, would it hamper that at all? But other than that, I can't think of, you know, we are where we are with mobile telephones. You know, it's not going to go away, and people want a decent reception, don't they?
And there's only limited grounds that you can always object to, you know, these kinds of installations.
Yeah, as long as they're thought out sensibly and won't hamper ambulance coming in, I can't see how I can object to it. Other than I don't know enough about them, to be honest with you, about are there any potential medical dangers attached to them, you know, that sort of thing.
I think there was quite a bit of talk regarding the health risks attached to the 5G network, but whether that's been established or not, I'm not 100% on.
All the medical literature on 5G says that concerns about radiation for the masts is unfounded.
No, okay, not.
Okay, that's fine. As I say, I don't know enough, and I wouldn't like to, you know, give an opinion if I don't know the facts, you know. But I think if it's that tall, it's well away from an average 6 foot person walking past, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have any particular objections on the placement or the size, as I think having 5G in the area would be a benefit, and the companies that install them do make an effort to make them fit in or not be as obtrusive as otherwise they would be. But Steve, you said you had an objection about the second one, which would be
the second one.
Yeah, so the first one I think is sort of adjacent, I think, to Thornton's Park or to the Wreck or something, isn't it? And it's kind of on its own. But the second one is down towards the traffic lights in Holly Lodge Drive.
Yeah. And
it's probably, 20, 30 metres away from 2 massive 5G masts that are already there. So it says, you know, we've undertaken several steps. We've looked at where the other operator sites are in the council's mast register. But what they've done on the plans is they've shown you a plan which basically overlooks the fact that there's already 2 masts just the other side of the junction. So yeah, if you go up a bit, Kate, I think the bit that shows you the sort of picture, keep going. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
There. So go up a little bit. Sorry, you've got a sort of plan there. So right on that plan there, where you've got Holly Lodge Drive going down the middle of it. Oh yeah, the thing on top right. Of your screen.
Sorry. Yeah.
So you've got Holly Lodge Drive there, and you've got, is that Seysham Close coming down the middle?
Yeah.
Right. You've got the traffic lights and the pedestrian crossing sort of down here near where that blue line is. Yep. And they want to place the mast where that red box is. There are already 2 5G masts. I assume they're 5G masts because they're both pretty huge, the other side of that junction. And, you know, I would just say that it's kind of overbearing having 3 of them in such close proximity.
Could we find out why we would need 3 in such close proximity? That's what interests me. If you've got 2 there already, why would you need 3?
Well, different networks, I would guess. So,
okay.
The other thing as well is on their paperwork, Kate. So if you go up a couple of pages, there's a bit which talks about traffic light system, and it's not referring to traffic lights. It's referring. There you go. There. So it says the site identified has been rated amber under the voluntary, right at the bottom of that page, under the voluntary 10 commitments traffic light rating system. But it doesn't say. I mean, it says it's voluntary, which presumably means they don't. You know, it's just they do their best to go right. It's green or amber. But it'd be interesting to know why it's amber and how it's been rated as amber, because, like I say, it's. Yeah, it just stuck out at me. You know, I've cycled down there, and there's 2 massive masts there already.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we could find out why they want a 3rd one, then.
Presumably, we've got slightly more time with this one as well, because it hasn't gone to a planning application yet, as it were as the other one had.
Well, we can put all these comments in and ask all the questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
So, has anyone else got anything? Because I've got something to add as well.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so in addition, I've prepared a statement with the help of Kate. So in addition to the material considerations raised in our response, Kingsthorpe Parish Council note that the Telecommunications Security Bill is continuing through its parliamentary approval stages. The bill, once passed, will create new powers for the government to control the use of Huawei equipment. A ban on the purchase of new Huawei equipment will come into force from the end of 2021, and a commitment will be made to remove all Huawei equipment from 5G networks by 2027. Kingsthorpe Parish Council therefore ask that should the installation of these masts proceed, that Hutchinson 3G UK Limited take a proactive approach and confirm that no Huawei equipment will be used in either installation in recognition of both the cybersecurity risk and human rights allegations associated with this vendor.
Yeah, good, well done.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, excellent.
Okay. If we could add that as well, please, then, Kate.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I know you've just read it, but I was just gonna pop it on the screen for a moment, just so that people could see it in full. Okay.
Before I dash, can I just quickly share my screen again, Kate? Sorry.
Yeah, you should just be able to do it, Steve. I've set it so that you can, so you should just be able to.
Right. Here we go.
Out if you can't.
Yes. I keep clicking on it, and then you have to actually press a share button as well.
Yeah,
yeah. You've got one there, haven't you?
So this is out of date. There is another one there that I think is bigger than this one. So that's that side of the junction, and then the other one they want to put kind of here, which is, like I say, it's three very big masts in very close proximity. So I think we should try and find out.
So I think that one in the picture is a 4G mast. So 5G is going to be taller than that.
Yeah, 5G is taller than that. But so there is one now which is taller than that already.
But would they remove that one? Is it possible?
No, if it's a different operator, no.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they should learn to work together.
Well,
rather they wouldn't have so many things.
But that's what they historically did, isn't it? So with 3G they did that, but I guess they need more masts. I apologise, Chair. I'm going to have to leave now for that police liaison forum. So
okay, thank you.
We'll see you on Saturday, Steve.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the comments for this. Kate's been taking them from us. Just looking into the second one as to why they need a third mast there, if there's already facilities there already, and of course they're stamped on Huawei. And I know, Nilesh, you said that you would be having to leave early, but I think it covers the end of the actual plan. But you'll also have noticed that if we go on to item 8, there's a training program has been showing what materials the new councillors coming in after the elections will be going through. And the one thing that I discussed with Kate this afternoon was The planning nuts and bolts is scheduled for November. However, it is an external vendor, so I would like to have the planning training occur as soon as possible after the elections, so in June, especially considering that we're having a lot of planning applications come through, and it's not going to be that many people who are experienced in sitting on a planning committee. So I think that training will be very important to have as early as possible. So I've asked if we can move that up to June. And then obviously we'll form the subcommittee, which we'll come to shortly. But the idea of this training plan is that we have the training over a period of time so that new members don't have to attend a lot of training in a very short period of time. Open for comments.
No,
I think that'll be helpful. Definitely be helpful, Chair.
I think that the most important thing is to get people on there that have really got an interest and want to do it. And I wondered if we will be looking at licensing as well, because I've been on licensing forever. And we really need to making sure that the public houses and public entertainment licenses are served well in the area as well. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to get some training on licensing. And I'd be happy to be on the subcommittee to do that, because I've done it for so many years. But it is important that we govern this and make sure that people adhere to the rules of licensing.
So a question, just throwing this out there, because I don't know the answer. Is licensing something that would be a consultee on, or would have any say over?
Yeah, you'd be a consultee, the same way that you are for planning. You tend not to get, there's obviously far less than there is for planning, but you should be consulted on them. So it would certainly be worth doing something on that. Yeah, I can have a look at that and see if we can arrange something. Okay,
then that's a good call then, Sally. Thank you.
Okay.
My only other question was on that programme that I just shared on the screen. Do people have any general thoughts whether they think they would prefer to have? I mean, ideally, if there was no social distancing, everything was, subject to COVID restrictions and so on, would people prefer to do the training online or actually face to face?
It's possible to do face-to-face training. I think it's so much better because you can actually learn off each other as well. We don't all have to ask the same stupid questions, and somebody else can have a turn.
I agree.
It will be like a Zoom type thing. It's just whether you'd rather do it, via Zoom, or so we'd all be in the meeting together, or whether, if we can, it would be nicer to be, whether you think it'd be nicer to be in a venue.
Yeah, I prefer to be with people if we can, when we're able.
Well, I agree with Sally that I would prefer face to face. That's my personal preference. However, I think we should wait until after the elections and then ask the new members what training how they would prefer to have it. So if the majority would prefer to have it remotely, then that's what we should do, and vice versa.
And it all depend on COVID restrictions at that time as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah. But generally, you're happy with the principle of the training plan. You'd like some training on licensing as well, and we need to move the planning training right forward to earlier in the programme.
Lovely. Super duper. Thanks, Kate.
Okay.
So now we move on to other items which are for information only. So we were due to have the annual general meeting on the 14th of May, and that is to be held in person. We've had to move the date of that to the 17th of May because that's the earliest we can hold it. You should all have been sent the guidance on how to conduct the meeting. So the advice is that the meeting is held with the fewest members possible, which, given that Kingsthorpe Parish has got 15 seats, the quora would be 5 members to attend the meeting. I don't think that's very appropriate because I think the AGM is one of the most important meetings of the year, especially because we'll be electing a chairman, a deputy chair, and so forth. So I've asked if we can contact the local schools to hire a venue that is as large as possible so that we can maintain social distance. So we've gone to the schools, see if we can rent one of their large halls for an evening. And there is also a court case going through the High Courts at the moment, which is looking to extend whether we can have remote meetings. And if that's successful, then I think we should have the AGM via Zoom, just so that we can make sure that everybody remains safe and there'll be no concerns over COVID. So that will be on the 17th. The things we'll be going over will be obviously electing the chair, deputy chair. We'll also be forming a planning subcommittee. We'll be forming a working group to go over the logo competition. We'll form a working group to go over the community plan, and we'll form a working group to go over staffing levels, because Kate is doing a fantastic job, and she's only in her position on an interim basis. So we'll need to look into getting full-time staffing on that matter. So Kate, you've got your hand up.
Yes, it's fine. I think you covered everything. I was just going to say on the annual meeting, we just have to wait for this case to go through to find out if we can meet remotely. But I have made inquiries with local community centres about booking, which is fine. It's just that if we're subject to social distancing with sort of 15, well, it'd be more than 15 people, because we have 15 members perhaps, and staff and members of the public. And with social distancing, it might be quite hard to fit everybody in, which is why we're looking, possibly at a larger venue just as a one-off until COVID restrictions have moved on.
Apart from the schools, who are quite expensive to hire, Chair, have you thought about using a church, because they're quite large, and we could do social distancing in that? It's not a religious thing, you could use the venue.
Yeah, I think we should look at everything possible and get the largest venue possible, so I would like, ideally, if we have to meet in person, that we do know that there are going to be 12 elected members at the AGM. So ideally having as many as possible so that all the elected members can attend.
Yes. And
as many members of the public as possible as well. I think that's the only reasonable thing we can do. I do think at this point a remote meeting would be far preferable because of people's concerns. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And not everybody will have had the jab by then, so it's got to be careful of that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on mine. So in relation to the elected members, there are 15 seats in Kingsthorpe Parish, and there will be 12 elected members, which means we'll be co-opting, or we'll have to co-opt 3 additional members onto the council. And the quora is based on how many seats there are, not how many councillors there are. So the quora will always be 5, and we'll be looking into how that process will go ahead, and we'll be co-opting them onto the council. It won't be before the AGM, it will be in the June meeting. At that point, we'll have 15 members.
Fine.
And I don't think there's any more items for information only, unless I've missed something.
I don't think so, Chair. I think that's everything we discussed earlier.
Okay, brilliant. So just to confirm, the next meeting will be the AGM on the 17th. That'll be at PM, either in person or via Zoom. And the next meeting after that will be the parish meeting, which will be held on the 29th of May.
Sorry, Councillor. Just to jump in, I think, is Tom in a position to speak now, or he has raised his hand?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to flag that.
All right. Have you got sound yet?
Can you hear me, Chair?
I can, yeah.
That's a story in my life actually being forgotten. Chair, just 2 things. I have to say, I found this evening very interesting. The first thing is, when we go face to face, is it possible to still view, or can we still run the meetings on YouTube? It's a question, and maybe for later on. My second one is, I'm concerned about the elections on the 6th of May, in that I've had 3 people phone me today One had his voting papers through and was very confused. And two parts of the voting system we've never used before. And I speak to a lot of people, and a lot of people are very confused. For instance, I've spoken to several people who think they'll only put one cross down because that's what they think they've got to put down.
Yeah.
I've spoke to the electoral people, and they've told me there will be boards inside of the voting booths. Well, that's not a problem. But if you take a scenario where it's raining, and you take Kingsthorpe, and you take 2 meters, you're probably only going to get 3 people inside of that booth. And so you're going to have everybody else standing outside. Can we put something on our website telling people what is expected of them on the 2 areas? That, of course, is the parish, the unitary, and the fire. The fire and the police I don't think are a problem. That's quite straightforward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I'll jump to your second question first. I think that is completely reasonable thing to do. So Kate, we would be able to do that, wouldn't we? So put on the guidance.
Yeah. Anything that's that's promoting democracy, helping people, just understand the voting system is definitely something that we can do. So I will get something together and put it on the website hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah, could we have that flash up, like as the very first thing?
Yeah, the pop-up and lead to a link with information. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, Chair, I had one done by Mark West. So maybe if I send that across to you, Kate, that may help you.
Yeah.
And he set it out really well in 3 sections.
Yeah. I've got I've had some information through to me in a completely separate capacity, which has got some nice graphics in about what you need to do as well. So if you send me that, and I'll have a look at what I was sent separately and just pull something together that I can put on the website. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a brilliant suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Appleyard. But okay, so in relation to the first point, which was filming meetings live, I have discussed this with Kate because I think having a meeting available to be watched after the fact by members of the public who were not able to attend would be a fantastic idea. However, the requirements in equipment are quite prohibitive because we need microphones for every single member. We'd need cameras, we'd need a sound engineer and so forth. And that just isn't affordable for the parish. It would be quite a significant financial investment. Of course, if we can do it at any point in the future, then I think that's definitely something we should look into. And we haven't had to have televised meetings yet because obviously we've been doing everything remotely. But I do agree that I think it would be a good idea to record meetings if we could.
Thank you, Chair.
And again, I apologise, Mr. Appleyard. I completely forgot that I said you would be able to speak at a later point, so my apologies. And I don't think then that there's any other items on the agenda. So thank you very much for attending, and I look forward to meeting with everybody again on the 17th of May.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you, Kate, for everything you've done.
Yeah, thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Oh, all good.